Hey guys, Tomboy601, and today we have the Agir, the all new Tier 8 campaign ship for this update. And I'll be honest, I'm having a ton of fun with her. I think I think this round of Tier 8s has been one of the best rounds of Tier 8s we've ever gotten. And this campaign ship is quite fun. If you've not been around for a review, what we're going to do is go over the commander, the modules, go over all of the stats, then show off a game in it, and then you can kind of make up your mind and see if it's really worth it. With all of that said, I will say thank you to Wargaming. I am one of the community contributors, and as such, was provided the ship for review. So with all that said, let's go ahead and dive on in. And first things first, let's talk Commander. And we are running Karl von Mueller. That's exactly right. And we're not even going to run a single new commander, a single paid for commander. It's full free to play build. We got Karl von Mueller. Two inspirations are going to be Francesco Mimbelli and Nikolai von Essen. And then we have Beyond Range, Igniter, Velocious, Fixated, and finally Emergency Bell. I think you could also absolutely get away with a fully packed, just because you don't have a ton of consumables on board, and having a couple more consumables would probably greatly behoove you to be able to deal with a couple of others. Overall, I think Agir, there's several ways you could build her. I just think Von Mueller with Emergency Bell is probably one of the more fun ways, or at least one of the more fun ways I was having. Cool. Let's go ahead and dive on into those modules. First things first, in mod slot 1, we're running aiming system mod 1. Then we are running propulsion mod. Then concealment mod. And finally, main battery mod 3. I think you could easily kind of go for the range mod, or also in the second slot. If you really want to do rudder shift, you could probably also do rudder shift fairly effectively, though I found this was the build I ended up being happy with the most. Consumables on the vessel, you are fully equipped. So first things first, you got the damage control party. 5-second duration, 5-second duration, 6-second reload time. Cool. Then you have your sonar, and it's good old German sonar. So 3.9 kilometer detectability on torps, 5.7 kilometer detectability on ships, and that does come in a ton of handy. It's going to last for 120 seconds. It's going to reload in 180 seconds, and you get 2 charges of it. Excellent. You do also have the option to equip defensive AA. This vessel does have pretty good AA. The majority of its damage is concentrated around in the 5-kilometer range. So defensive AA, if it wasn't a German ship and you were guaranteed to go up against an aircraft carrier every single game, I could see there being an argument for running DFAA. It is a strong choice. After that, we have Repair Party. You get 2 charges of it. You're going to heal 314 health per tick. It's going to last 28 seconds. Going to reload in 80 seconds. Not the strongest heal, but it definitely helps. Then we have Enhanced Secondary Targeting. You can run a secondary build on this vessel if you really want to. I wouldn't recommend it, but it'll probably be a good laugh. Some of the longest range secondaries for a cruiser. But you got secondary... Enhanced secondary targeting, boost shell grouping by 100%, secondary battery dispersion by 50%. It's going to last 30 seconds, reload 160 seconds, and you're going to have 3 charges of it. Excellent. Cool. So those are the consumables. Now let's get on in to the stats of the vessel. So Agir, it's going to have 62,850 hit points with an armor thickness between 16 and 360 millimeters. Let's go ahead and take a look at that armor. If you're unaware, Agir is sort of the sister ship to Siegfried, and you have very much the same sort of armor layout. 27 millimeter bow, a very strong side plating of 90 to 190 millimeters. Your deck plating is either 27 or 30 millimeters, depending on where it is. If you can angle the ship correctly, it can be pretty survivable, but up in tier 8 legendary tier, there's going to be some guns that overmatch you. So you just kind of have to be prepared, be ready to take on the fights that you can. And yeah, that's kind of the armor scheme. Torpedo reduction on the vessel, you're looking at a fairly substantial 37%. Let me double check my figure on that one. Yeah, 37%. A very good torpedo reduction. After that, let's move on to the main battery. Three-barreled 305 millimeter guns with a firing range of 17.8 kilometers. Reload time 16.9 seconds, giving you a shells per minute of 32. 180 time on those guns, 35.3 seconds. HE damage, you're going to be doing 3,600, which gives you a DPM of 115,200 and a 30% chance to set fire. AP, which is where you're going to want to kind of stick to, 9,100 damage per shot. You're going to have a DPM of 291,000 with that. Secondaries, you have 9 two-barreled 128 millimeter guns with a firing range of 6.3 kilometers. Reload time is going to be 3.6 seconds. Damage is going to be 1,500, which is going to give you, and you're going to have an 8% chance to set fire. Your total secondary DPM is 450,000, though you can't realistically expect to really do that kind of damage, though you can expect to do some pretty decent damage, and you're going to be able to actually do damage with the secondaries because they're 128s, and you get, I believe, quarter pen, so you can do damage with them, which is nice. Torpedoes, you have 2 four-railed 533 millimeter guns with a reload time of 90 seconds and a damage of 13,700. Detectability range on them 1.3 kilometers with a speed of 65 knots in a fairly short range of only 6 kilometers. It gets tight. You're like, ooh, you feel it, especially after things like Iwami. You're like, oh, this is what it's like to have not long range torpedoes again. Anyways, AA max range is going to be 5.2 kilometers with a minimum damage of 112 and a max damage of 392. The majority of the damage comes in at 5 kilometers, so you're going to be doing fairly well. Max speed of the vessel, 36.4 knots, with a turning radius of 880 meters and a rudder shift time of 12.9 seconds. Finally, concealment, detectability by sea, you're looking at 11.9 kilometers, detectability by air, 7.5 kilometers, and when firing in smoke, 10.6. And those are all of the stats you need to know about Agir. Let's go ahead and dive on in to a match with her. So welcome to Hotspot. We're over on B side. This will be a relatively quick match, but I think it shows off a bunch of what you want to see in Agir. So I think it's a good match to showcase just what this ship has to offer. As far as what's on the enemy team, we do have a double destroyer Weimar division. So that was interesting. As far as my plan right now, we're going to kind of try and wait for the match to develop. We're going to use this little piece of cover from this island, see what quite goes on, see if B starts to tick into a captured or contested point really early on. If it does, we know the destroyers are in there, and we can attempt to do a little hunting. So that's the plan. As we can see, it's gone red, which means it's time for us to go green. We're going to go ahead, mainly just try to support our destroyer here, because if you notice, he is not a combat ready destroyer. I think he's a Yukikaze, in the enemy destroyer division. Double destroyer division is made up of a Yukikaze and a Friesland, which, like, hey, good on them for like covering their basis as far as kinds of destroyers, right? Like, we not to all play the same ship, but that does make it a little bit more difficult for us. So we are going to begin to push in here. We also know that there's destroyers nearby, so we're going to go ahead, flip over to the HE, and begin to try to push in. We know torps aren't likely, like, we know our guy isn't being fired at. So as far as where the destroyers are, they're probably not off to the left-hand side. We can probably push off to this right. We're going to go ahead and activate our sonar. And hello, Mr. Yudachi, who's within our sonar range, who thought he could be a bit cheeky and a bit clever by being so close with a high concealment rating. Let us now go ahead and do what Agir does best, and that's get in, brawl a little, and take on these destroyers. Now, you wouldn't really think Agir is the best up against destroyers, and I wouldn't say it is king up against destroyers, but you'll notice Agir surprisingly accurate guns. I think she has like a 2.2 Sigma, which is incredibly good. And of course, we have the good old German sonar. And what does that mean? Well, it means we can bully things. Yukikaze, we went ahead and took him down. We have a nice long sonar. We can go ahead and just kind of let it sink here. We're going to flip over to AP because that Weimar is sitting broadside. And, you know, that could be a smart strategy. Agir does have some fairly high velocity guns. And those high velocity guns will like to overpen things. We don't really have the shot on Weimar. He pops up just a little bit more. That's enough for us to kind of take the shot, and we'll go ahead take 10,000 off of him with one Citadel right there, and we'll kind of just slowly start creeping in. I don't know if Weimar has used his torpedoes yet, so I don't want to rush him totally right now. I want to just kind of slowly make my way, get these shells. You can see we got just straight overpens on that one, and that is something you will get a lot of with Agir if you don't have everything precisely nailed down, but we are just kind of taking our time right here. We are up to 2 fires so far. I was kind of hoping Friesland would hang around, but at this point we're kind of flushing him towards our guys. We go up to 3 fires and we go ahead, extinguish those, and then we have torpedoes coming in from most likely Suzuya. Thankfully that the sonar, just as it ran out, was able to pick those up, so we're able to pick up the gap and kind of get over and take it off. Of course, as we do that, we get set on fire again. I will say, I think this is one of Agir's weaknesses. It likes to get caught on fire. Someone spread some oil all over its deck, because I've had multiple, like 3 fires today. I've even went up to a 4 fire today, and that's not usually something you see very often. Anyways, we don't want to overextend ourselves here. We are going to try to reverse back into Suzuya, or reverse away from Suzuya, try to drop off the spot. We have decent concealment for such a big ship, but we also have this convenient smoke right here. If we can kind of drop off the radar here, we can get the Suzuya to maybe stop paying attention to us. We also are now within our smoke fire concealment, and those shells look beautiful, and boom, 2 more Citadels. I have to say, we're now going to get into what is the much slower portion of the match. As you kind of see, we blew out this side and we took out that division, and we kind of just make the decision, let's cap, and then we can kind of forget about the Suzuya because we are in a good position. We shouldn't need to chase him. We can fire what we can, but stay concealed. We don't have a bunch of health to go, trying to outduel the Suzuya at long range when he has the advantage. So we're going to go ahead, we take the cap, and then try to push out towards D. Anyways, now that we're kind of entering the more boring portion of this match with a lot less of the action, I will say, Agir, he's a bit of a surprise to me. I was not expecting the most. I was very skeptical. I was of the opinion, like, oh, you're bringing the sister ship to Siegfried, who, I enjoy Siegfried because it's a wonky, weird ship. But let's be clear, it is not the best. It is not the best boat out there at Tier 7. Far from it. And to deliver Agir in the way it is, with its accuracy, I think that is one of the things that I came out of this with. That Agir was surprisingly good accuracy, way better than I was expecting. I don't know if that's a function of just there's more barrels, ergo you feel like you hit things way more often, but you feel good while playing Agir, and that's what I love. Pair that with the wonky hull, right? The German, not battle cruiser, but pocket battleship design. You got decent penetrating guns. You do kind of need to know your way around enemy armor schemes, because lower belt you won't be penning. You need to go upper belt with this vessel, which is unfortunate. You have the pen to absolutely get up there, but it leaves you sometimes being a bit depressed when trying to engage enemy battleships, just because you're like, yeah, they're battleship guns. I should be able to pen pen battleships, and you can't really do that. But Agir, I think you have that. You have a really good sonar. You have decent torpedoes. I would say they're not great. I think the range is really, really small. The launch angles are pretty good. As far as them getting destroyed, I think they were fairly robust today. Is my best way of talking about it. They didn't self explode too many times while playing, but they did they did stand up to it. The only other thing you kind of have to be conscious of, just like playing Siegfried, is the nose, right? 27 millimeter bow. A lot of things are going to overmatch that nose. You got to be prepared to kind of use that side plating, because it can stand up to shells a lot better than your nose, and you just kind of have to be wary of it, just because, especially because you are going to be coming up against Musashis, you are going to be coming up against Yamatos, you are going to be coming up against things with 16-inch guns that can punch through your nose. You just kind of have to be wary and prepared for it. And if you are, I think you're going to find yourself really enjoying Agir, which is why I've said I think this is one of the better Tier 8 campaign ships. I'm actually quite enjoying my time with her, and or him, whatever, with it. There we go. But yeah, guys, Agir, I think, campaigns usually are worth it just on the resources alone, but I think Agir today worth it just for the fun ship that you end the campaign with. So yeah, guys, that's Agir. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you like it? Are you excited to pick it up? Let me know. And if you like the video, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.